Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
What if I told you about the most well-known house? There's a locked floor in music history that even the most devoted admirers in the world never seen. A location where time ceased on August 16th, 1977, and some people think the biggest secret in the history of rock and roll stays concealed. The second level of Not All of Graceland is off limits. It's a sealed time capsule containing the solutions to whispered queries from Elvis fans for decades or so. Now, for the someone having the keys for the first time ever is speaking up at last. The music of Elvis Presley Riley Keough, a granddaughter, has violated the quiet around Graceland's not allowed upstairs. What she discovered, what's behind those sealed doors, is more than kept personal possessions and rooms intact. Its handwritten correspondence was never intended to be perused. Unidentified recordings some assert that they have heard, but nobody has demonstrated. And proof that could clarify. Why did Elvis feel the need to safeguard this holy area? According to some, it's simply privacy. Others think it has evidence of an even more startling fact that the king never really left the structure. For after over 50 years, the second floor of Graceland is still entirely sealed. No tourists, no cameras, no exceptions. Even the most loyal Elvis fans of Presley, people who have visited over continents to catch a glimpse of I have never seen King's World. What's behind the door upstairs? However, at last, someone has something to say. Elvis Presley's granddaughter, Riley Keough, and Graceland's recent owner, is ending decades of concealment. She says of mysterious, time-frozen, closed-rooms notes that nobody ever sent, as well as the unsettling having the impression that her grandfather never actually departed. For years, supporters murmured regarding what could be concealed up there. Was it more than just a shrine? A secret passageway beneath the house? A cache of unheard music? Riley is more than just becoming more emotionally open. She is lifting the curtain on $1 million project thought to remain buried indefinitely. And her next revelation is something far more. Longtime Elvis admirers didn't anticipate, prior to it becoming the most famous house in history of music. Graceland had just been a peaceful home on my edge. Integrated S, a printing mogul, created it in 1939, sitting on a serene piece of land, encircled by wide fields. The house had appeal without being over the top. Only 10 white columns, chambers, and a stately front porch in the south. That was altered in when an agitated 22-year-old Elvis Presley is quickly soaring to international fame. Fame arrived in search of tranquility. Fame hounded and unable to locate tranquility in Elvis didn't purchase Graceland for the general public, its dimensions. He purchased it because it promised privacy. Yet, notoriety has a way of leaking into everything. Throughout the years, Graceland evolved into more than just a house. It evolved into a continuation of Elvis. That story was told in one room in particular, superior to most. The notorious jungle green. Shag carpeting in the room, and furnishings that appeared to have been taken from a dream of rainforest fever. It was crazy and bizarre. However, it's where Elvis recorded a few of his last songs. Odd, melancholic tunes that reflected his mental condition. Right behind the house. The meditation garden is situated there. Created in 1964 as a site for introspection. It would become Elvis's years later last resting place. It's the single component of Graceland, a place where quiet is valued and where supporters even drop their voices decades later. Graceland opened to the 1982, and since then more than 20 million of people have gone through it. Gates, the second most visited residence in the United States. The White House alone receives increased traffic. However, despite all the exhibitions and tours, a component of the mansion has never been open to the public. Elvis's real haven was the upstairs, and what Riley found behind. The real thing lies behind that last shut door. The narrative starts. For many years, the stairway leading to the second level of Graceland has been more than a simple border. It's been a boundary between history and personal sorrow. No tour guide goes over it. Behind it, there are no camera peaks. That hole, the level, has not changed since August 16th. The day Elvis Presley passed away was 1977, upstairs. Riley Keough, however, has observed, it being the grandchild of Elvis, she spent portions of her early years spent wandering Graceland's corridors as visitors went by down, not realizing that directly above them, and the whole planet sat motionless. Share calls being instructed not to touch anything, yet experiencing every emotion, the silence, the air, the odd, the coziness of a room left just as it was. He's still got his bed made, his attire dangle in the wardrobe, the timepiece above the bed has remained in place since paramedics came, a battered Bible on one bedside table containing handwritten notes, on the other medicine bottles, some still complete. Additionally, Riley discovered Asho box with the words "Do" written in bold knot, open. Elvis had letters inside, never sent. One was sent to Lisa Marie. To whoever, read another simply. Discovers this after I've left, she said, discovered his personal studies. A poorly lighted room surrounded by bookshelves on theology, numerology, and mysticism. The margins were packed with scrawled notes, a few pages like prayers written in a journal. Others appeared to be a chaotic flow of awareness. One spoke only one word, repeated repeatedly. Free. Riley, I'm going through those rooms. It's not like going to see a relic. It's similar to entering a memory that never concluded. However, what fans didn't anticipate was the amount of gasoline. That these rooms would also among the most bizarre theories about Elvis past. Not everybody thinks Elvis is real. Died in the lavatory upstairs. Actually, some admirers think he never passed away. Crazy theories have been around for years. The area of Graceland. Nobody is more tenacious. Compared to the assertion that Elvis falsified his own death and made their getaway by a secret tunnel that runs beneath the home. It sounds similar to a Hollywood suspense film, yet there is a chance supported by years. Odd hints, unsettling quiet, and mysterious sightings. According to the hypothesis, such like this. Below the surface of Graceland, there's a tunnel that leads from the main house to the property's backyard, or even further. Its objective, a means of escape. Perhaps in order to avoid the paparazzi, completely vanish. Advocates of the Elvis actions are supported by theory. He ceased doing frequent tours in the 1970s. He grew more suspicious, employing people to pull away and sweep for bugs from public life, and ultimately almost completely withdrawing to the second Graceland's floor. Some people think it was more than being solitary. It was getting ready. And then there's John the Burroughs incident. Only a year later, the purported death of Elvis, a man using that extremely pseudonym, an ancient stage name that Elvis used for checking into hotels, was observed jetting on a plane in Memphis. Is it a coincidence? Perhaps, but it caused sightings in the year's tidal wave that came next. Elvis visiting a McDonald's restaurant in Texas. Elvis seeing a phony perform in Nevada. Elvis himself at a DMV in California is discreetly making a monetary payment and letting the cashier know that's not crucial when his name was requested. Then the gravestone is there. Elvis is legally, Aaron was his middle name, but the marker E. Aaron reads. Some claim it's a purposeful hint, evidence that the deceased isn't this. In official terms, there is no proof. No tunnel without a picture in public blueprints never verified, although the Presley Shaws also never categorically refuted it. Riley also doesn't waste her time on conspiracy theories. Nevertheless, she has. 1. Thing is extremely evident. Upstairs is actual and much more potent than any rumor. Riley Keough is not amenable to the notion of stage deaths or tunnels, but she does discuss something even more strong. The overwhelming sensation that the memory of her granddad persists. Upstairs, he seemed to have never left. She stated that everything is still present. His garments, his documents, and the works by his bed. The cologne is odorous. You can sense him in the walls. The upper floor rooms are not exhibits in museums. They're period capsules that were sealed not for concealment but out of respect. She declines one room. To give a detailed description, the loo Herr Elvis passed away. Never before has it been changed. Even the towels haven't been changed. Riley refers to it as a deep space. Respect when remembrance and grief meet. But another room, which not many people even knew existed, possesses a distinct type of importance. Riley refers to it as the quiet located at the very end of the upper floor. Elvis designed the hallway. Himself has a place for meditation, cushions on the ground, dim illumination, and the gentle sound machine's hum. For Riley, it was the most truthful aspect of him. Not the performer is a man, not an icon, attempting to get away from the cacophony, even in his own house. Following Lisa Marie's death, Riley received more than just a home as an inheritance. The burden of a legacy was passed on to her. And that led to the choice not to unlock the doors, but in order to open the dialogue. And the next step would just make the puzzle more complex. As soon as Riley Keough became Graceland's new owner in 2023, it wasn't merely a silent transfer. It was a whirlwind of legal action. After Lisa Marie Riley's untimely death of Presley assumed a role that few people could ever be ready. Not only the caretaker of a landmark in culture, but the leader of a family business valued at hundreds of millions. And nearly at once, there was difficult. Lisa and Priscilla Presley, Elvis's ex-wife and Marie's mother, disputed a 2016 trust modification. Riley gained control as a result. The court case didn't last long, resolved in secret, but it showed something that few outsiders completely got it. The legacy of Presley isn't merely sentimental. It is a calculated move. It's a brand, a stronghold of knowledge real estate, licensing agreements, and worldwide image management. And now, at Riley, who is only 34, is the one in possession of the keys. She isn't docile in her role as well. She examines the display, proposals, archive green lights projects, and collaborates closely with specialists in preservation. She is in charge of digital projects that look at Elvis' handwritten lyrics, notes, and personal letters, making certain that each artifact is preserved with forensic accuracy. However, outside of work, Riley has adopted greater accountability to mold the history, not to promote Elvis, to comprehend him. She has stated clearly Graceland has more to offer than a museum. It's the man's living, breathing reflection behind the myth. And that implies safeguarding the genuine, including the in portions of Elvis Presley's story, unpleasant and intimate. Thus, when rumors controversy regarding claims from secret heirs, Riley said nothing. Presley blood. Simply similar to her mother, just like her grandpa, since in a world where the electricity isn't always in when there is noise, it's in the things that aren't said. The Presley name has been followed by whispers for many years. There are rumors that Elvis fathered children that the general public was unaware about Rowley. Some of these assertions are accompanied by spectacular flair, purported DNA proof, birth certificates, including photographs comparisons displaying eerie similarities. Most of these tales eventually vanish. Tabloid headlines, but some people make it to legal proceedings. One man made an effort to obtain an exudate of Elvis' body for testing. Denied. Another submitted a sample of hair, taken from an Elvis hair strand purchased at auction in an attempt to demonstrate paternity. The estate rejected it, utterly. For an heir to be identified, the standard is too high. Unbreakable, clear chain of custody, DNA, and reliable records. The majority of allegations disintegrate long before they approach confirmation. Some admirers think Elvis had partnerships in the 1950s and 1960s prior to and throughout his union with Priscilla. Some names resurface in internet discussion boards, as well as fan theories. Women who assert that obtain handwritten notes or hush notes from the monarch himself, Lisa Marie, and has Riley ever responded to these rumors? Openly. Additionally, that silence says volumes. One thing is obvious. If a real, when Presley heir appears, that there won't be a choice on what comes next. From a courtroom. Riley will provide it. For many years, rumors have circulated through fan communities. What if Elvis disappeared? Where are the songs that no one has ever heard? The last recording sessions were held within the Jungle Room at Graceland in 1976. Songs like Moody and Way Down Blue managed to get it out, but those near, he said that there was more. Incomplete takes, piano ballads performed late at night, and extremely intimate recordings that he never meant for the entire globe. Throughout the years, reports of missing Elvis recordings have emerged. Some were obviously phonies, yet others were more difficult to ignore. One purported tape that allegedly contains a song. This Is Goodbye created a commotion in the nines until the voice was identified as coming from an impersonator. Why the riddle persists, not limited to these bootlegs. It's those who would know to remain silent. In contrast to other music icons whose unreleased content has been wrapped and sold, but Elvis's archive is still there, uncharacteristically cautious. Riley Keough has verified that a lot of things were upstairs, containing records, books, and perhaps there has never been any digitization of tapes or examined. A former estate worker once stated without name that a reel trail several unlabeled tapes and a recorder were found in the upstairs of Elvis's research. No verification exists, no images, no formal reference, but it corresponds with what we already know. Elvis frequently made private recordings of himself, speaking lyrics and drafting melodies out loud, catching a moment of inspiration for himself, not for fans. His Felton Jarvis, the producer, once alluded to, he created cassettes specifically for himself. Perhaps they will never be heard, and Elvis might have intended it that way. For a guy whose voice reverberated worldwide, the one thing he might most wanted to safeguard was what no one never heard, and perhaps that's the main idea. Not all doors must be opened. Not all secrets must be stated. Respecting someone's life occasionally, meaning allowing a portion of it to stay unaltered. However, at least we now know that there was a life behind the sealed door, echoing even now. However, this is the most startling discovery of all. What if did Elvis know what he was doing? What if each enigma, every rumor, was every door that was locked intentional? Think about this. More than Elvis Presley any other artist throughout history, comprehended the myth's potency. He wasn't merely a performer. He was a phenomena in culture who changed from being impoverished Mississippi youngster who became a powerful figure that 50 years following his passing were still thinking about what could be in his house behind a locked door, and that might have been his last masterpiece. Establishing a mythology so persistent that even death was unable to lessen it. Perhaps the Elvis Presley's best performance ever wasn't on the stage. Perhaps it was producing the ideal mystery. One that maintains us returning, leaving us in suspense and maintaining his name in our thoughts for a long time, following his voice ought to have vanished into the past. In your opinion, what was Elvis attempting to most protective? His seclusion, his future of the family, or something we haven't even taken into account? Tell us in their marks below. Additionally, if you're captivated by the secrets of legendary musicians, you'll want to attend our upcoming video pertaining to the underground secret vault Paisley Park in Prince, which has enough unheard songs to make a new album annually for the following century. Click subscribe to activate the notification bell. Now, as some secrets are also intriguing to overlook. It's music.mystery.